I want to pull up this story. This is from the Daily Wire. Majority of Democrats back Trudeau's crackdown, freezing bank account of truckers. There's something really important here. Ian was just saying that he doesn't think Donald Trump could win the presidency because they're going to be ready for him, right?
Yeah.
So using the same strategy twice. The previous context, for those that may have missed it, we're talking about the Freedom Convoy in Canada. We're talking about how Trudeau cracks down. Then the U.S. is planning this convoy. And Ian, you were saying that they're going to be ready for the U.S. truckers. So they can't use the same strategy. They're going to be ready for Donald Trump. He can't use the same strategy. But there's one thing that I think does that you may overlook in this regard. What if instead of 1,000 or 500 trucks coming to D.C. like in Canada, it was 50,000? Now it was reported there was 50,000 truckers protesting. I don't think there was that many trucks. I think that was probably misreported. But let's say that D.C. does plan for this, and they say we're going to handle it. 500 trucks, no problem. But then 50,000 trucks from every angle come in. You can't handle that. There's no planning for that.
That would be a different plan.
So let me show you this. In the story about Democrat support for Trudeau, they say the poll shows 55% of general election voters disapprove of Trudeau's handling of the protesters. 35% approve. That is to say, the majority of people don't like the draconian powers. Now take a look at this. Democrats, 65% approval. Republicans, 87% disapproval. And independents, 74% disapproval. That is to say, Republicans say no to Trudeau. Unaffiliated voters say no to Trudeau. It is only the Democrat base that about 2/3 support what Trudeau is doing with his draconian powers. These metrics are reflected in basically everything. When we pull up Civics polling data, is the economy good? Independent voters, 2-1 say no. Republicans, 10-1 say no. Democrats, 2-1 say it's great. Now, how is that possible? It's an inversion. The fact is, independent voters and Republicans, the plurality of the majority of people in this country, do not live in the crackpot cult reality that the Democrats live in. So if Donald Trump does run again, they can plan any shadow campaign or whatever fortification they want. But when 10 times as many people are storming through the gates, no amount of planning will stop that man.
Yeah, the independence there is really important because that's your proxy, right? I mean, those are the people that aren't really affiliated. I mean, if they're siding with Republicans, I mean, not even siding with them, but if that's the way they're perceiving reality,
right?
But this is all these represent the chasm, right? The chasm that we're talking about. We kind of forked at a certain point culturally in this country, and the chasm is just so great. You might try to holler at somebody way over there, and it's just like, what's the point? I mean, they're not even going to understand the language that I'm speaking right now. Yeah, and that's scary. But to your point, like, I don't know how we're going to remedy that cultural problem that we're experiencing. The chasm's just too wide.
I think that's making me think of that mentality, that combat mentality versus the scientific mentality. And so many people are in combat mentality that if you try and speak to them scientifically with like facts and evidence, they don't get it. It's too big of a deal for them to think about. They got to act now. It's like life or death to these people. So if you can understand that before you start communicating with them, and for them it's a big deal. Maybe for you it's not. I mean, obviously I'm not freaked out by this stuff, but if you understand it's same with talking with a kid too. If you understand why something's such a big deal to them, it's a lot easier to communicate with them about it.
Yeah, rapport building is the first strategy in persuasion.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
if you approach someone as an enemy or as an other, they are less likely to trust you. They fear you. So if you're trying to actively build bridges in the political conflict, you have to approach your political enemies or your political rivals as one of them. It's a very difficult thing to do. I got to throw it to Daryl Davis, though, and say I think we're beyond that, unfortunately. You can certainly try. I'm not saying never, give up. But that story about Daryl Davis, he's the guy who de-radicalized those Klan members. The black jazz musician de-radicalizes Klan members. But when he tried to talk with Antifa outside of the event we booked him for, they wouldn't talk to him.
Yeah, he directly confronted the mob, and that's a big ask. I've never successfully confronted a mob and come out the winner.
But confront maybe is the wrong word. He just said,
addressed the mob.
Said, I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
He walked across the street and they started yelling at him. Mobs. And they called him a Nazi and other, white supremacist. And he was like, I just want to talk, guys, and they wouldn't do it.
Something similar might have happened, though, if he was trying to address like a Klan rally.
Though, no,
right?
He's done that. He's done that.
But it started at the individual level, right? It was just one guy and then another guy.
He showed up to Klan rallies. He went to Klan rallies and walked up to people and talked to them. And he posted about how he never experienced what he did with Antifa. When he went to Klan rallies, they were like, "What's this guy doing here?" And he said, he started talking to people, and they started talking with him, and they told him all of their racist ideas, and he said, "Okay, just wondering what you were thinking." And then after a long enough period of time, they realized they were wrong, and their racist ideas weren't correct. With Antifa, he walks up and they scream at him. They wouldn't even let him talk.
Yeah, they want to fight. They're there to fight.
So it's a more poisonous ideology than racism, even.
Oh, I certainly think so.
It must be.
I think the issue with racism is that it's incorrect and can lead people towards dangerous policy and violence. The far left extremism is inherently on step one of the hopscotch is be extreme and destroy. Racism is you don't like people for stupid reasons. It escalates from there. Antifa on the far left starts with violent revolution.
I hate that burn it all down mentality. It's so stupid. Like, why would you ever destroy what we've created before you have a new thing to do? What the?
It's a 12-year-old's mentality.
Yeah, it's so very short-sighted. Immature, right? It's extremely immature.
Yeah.
And it's extremely, short-sighted. And so now, like I said, no one's going to make me feel guilty for being born. I wouldn't have chose my parents, love them.
Take a bunch of 10-year-olds, take 30 10-year-olds and put them in charge of an office building and see what happens. This is what's happening right now. Good times make weak men. We're in the fourth turning. We're in the period of weak men who have made hard times.
Although I'm thinking now,
men figuratively because women are involved.
I'm thinking scorched earth now because that's a military tactic. So if these people really are in combat mind state, then the scorched earth tactic is on the table. Like if someone's invading your city and you can't defend it properly, you burn the entire city to the ground and retreat so that when they get there, they don't have a city to pillage. And so maybe that's what these people are doing.
I think, what you see with Antifa. I don't think
it's even that thought through that far, to tell you the
truth. There is it's a rudimentary plan. It's there. Antifa in Portland, everything they do serves their purpose, their goal, right? If they go out in the streets with guns and say, do as you're told, and you do, they win. If you resist them and there's chaos and fighting, you're destroying the system, they win. It's what they want. From the ashes of the old, they shall build anew. It's what they said during Occupy Wall Street. I was told during Occupy, the organizer said, we want to flip the pyramid over. And I said, how would that make sense? If you flip the pyramid over, you have one brick on the bottom? No. The pyramid crumbles and forms a crappier, crumbly pyramid. And they're like, right. And we're on the bottom now. And when you flip it over and the bricks tumble down, we'll be the ones on top. That was their view. Their view was not to create a better world where the working class were all equal and wealthy. It was that if you flip the pyramid over, some of the poor people will take control and be in charge.
Yeah, the rest are going to fall down the side of the pyramid in the avalanche of rocks and get crushed.
That's right.
We're definitely in payback mode, right?
Payback for what? For who?
The Federal Reserve.
The idea of how they've been wronged and why we are so systematically racist and this and that.
Fascist.
Yes. And so if you're in payback mode, then you're not being rational and you'll get these type of ideas and it seems self-fulfilling. But it's so emotionally based.
Yeah, people that are willing to die for their cause are very dangerous.
Yes.
But these people also have no sense of history. They don't know what happened in Cuba, or either that or they're ignorant about it. I was just so funny. I was just listening the other day to an interview with Andy Garcia, the actor, and I had no idea he was from Cuba, and his family fled from there when he was 5.5 years old. And the interviewer was asking him, was just like, so what was that like? You fled from Cuba? I mean, what was going on? And the way that he describes Cuba that he fled from is just like hair-raising. He was just like, well, we were told there were going to be public schools and the revolution was going to bring everybody happiness. And the public schools weren't really schools. They were just indoctrination camps. And all the children, there was no God. And they praised Che Guevara and they praised Fidel. And he's just like point by point laying out exactly what happened. Even when he went back in the 90s and he was just like, I just wanted to visit my homeland. And they turned it into this propaganda campaign saying that I, supported the revolution. And it was really eye-opening hearing him talk about that when we're living in 2022.
There's a clip that the left likes to put around, push out there, where at the end of the Joe Rogan podcast with Twitter, the mics stayed on. So Joe is like, all right, everybody, that was great. And he stands up and it shows the Rogan symbol and you can still hear everything. And Vijaya Gadde of Twitter says, I want to follow up on that Antifa account. And I said, it's bit.ly/Antifa tweet or something like that. And then she says, what was this account or whatever? And I responded with, I don't want to give you information on specifics so that you can go and ban people because I'm here. Basically saying, I don't think you should be doing anything at my behest. They cut that part out and claim that Twitter colludes with the far right to ban Antifa and support fascists and everything. It is insane how people fall for this and believe it. And it's maddening and it's sad because there are people who will hear that clip and be like, wow, it must be true.
That's it. That's the combat mentality.
I was talking to a few good friends of the show, and they mentioned Dave Rubin saying something stupid. They were like, oh, but Dave, man, he said that thing. And I was like, what did he say? And they're like, he said something about, and I can't remember exactly what the quote was. And then I said, wow, you actually were talking to him and he said this to you? They were like, no, but we saw it on Twitter. And I was like, was he quoting someone else? And they're like, I don't know. It was a short clip some activist posted. And I was like, so why do you believe it? So Dave Rubin could have been quoting someone else and someone took a clip of this and claimed he said it. Why would you believe that? It's crazy that even people who are aware of the tactics of the machine still fall for it too.
Yeah, I did train myself out of it with the Nick Sandmann thing when he got confronted, or when he got confronted. Yeah. I initially got angry and I was about to yell out. That was the first time I kind of stopped and thought about maybe there's something more to this. But it was like, it wasn't like one day I just stopped freaking out about information. I had to learn. I'm still to this day, stuff will appear and I'm like, false flag. Remember, false flag.
Totally.
Remember, keep your mind open.
Yeah, that's why I have no social platform whatsoever. I stay
Smart.
As far away from that as I can. I mean, obviously, it wasn't part of my generation having a cell phone until I was 30 because they weren't around, right? My first one I had was in Belarus. Yeah. And interestingly enough, because it's such a small country, it was awesome because they could put cell towers around everywhere and it was really good. But so I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't part of it. But I absolutely detest the fact that you can get so inundated and so caught up in it that it's not profitable. I try to be profitable, with my time and my energy.
Yeah, I'll be in such a great state of mind. I'll be thinking about good stuff. And then sometimes I'll get on Twitter and I'm like, this stuff is so negative. It's so niche. It's usually about like Biden or like about politics. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just because I follow a lot of people that come on the show and that's what we talk about. But it's like so niche. It's not like reality as it is. It's just a part of like the game.
I gotta give you some advice, man.
I'm triggering Tim right now.
Look at who I follow. You can go on Twitter and pull up my account and look at who I follow. And so there's a good amount of activists. There's pundits. There's left-wing and right-wing pundits, and mostly news organizations. What's happening to a lot of people is that they'll go on Twitter and they'll follow 300 far-left activists. So their whole worldview is filtered by the far left. Or they'll go on and follow 300 right-wing pundits, and their whole worldview is filtered through right-wing pundits. I use my Twitter mostly as a tool. I post nonsense. I often just, post things that trigger people or whatever. I tweeted today, was it today, that Putin was scared of Trump.
Yeah.
Boy, did the left go nuts on that one. Yeah. And but mostly who I'm following is like news sources, left and right. Some are politically active, some aren't. A lot of journalists. You'll see in my following count like some professors and some journalists. My worldview is not crafted by partisans. It is. I have a balanced. Because I want to see what the left is saying.
Sure, no, for what you do, it makes total sense, right?
But what we're getting is journalists only follow the left. Conservatives follow both. Yeah. So you'll tend to see conservatives understand the left doesn't understand conservatives. That's why the Democrats support Trudeau and independent voters and Republicans don't, probably because Democrats don't watch the news, have no idea what he's done. But if you went to the average Democrat voter and said, Trudeau seized the bank account of a single mother who works as a waitress because when the convoy was first just driving on the road, she gave $50, they'd be like, well, that's crazy. But because they don't pay attention, they support authoritarianism.
And therefore wouldn't believe you, right?
Right. They'd say, so this is what, my friends are telling me. They're like, they say, like good friends of mine from back home, they say, when I try telling my parents, they say it's a conspiracy theory. And then they're like, Tim, like you've known him. He used to hang out here. He's the one who's talking about it. I'm like, he's wrong. I watch CNN. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.